So really, a business should never have to think about hiring a bookkeeper again, because we'll do
Yeah.
all that. They've outsourced that headache to us as well.
Welcome to the J. Wells CFO Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Wells, and with me today is a great guest, Diane Denholm. She is the co-owner and director of sales for the Northeast Florida branch of Supporting Strategies. She's going to talk to us all about bookkeeping, but also get into ways that businesses can run better, way owners can run businesses better by looking at their books, by staying on top of their financials, staying on top of that information. Might get a little scary, might get a little hairy, but the more you know, the better off you can run your business, right? So I'm going to turn it over to Diane now, let her tell us a little bit about what she does and how she got there and how she's helping people. So thank you for coming on to the show, Diane, and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate the opportunity today to spend some time with you and your audience. So let me tell you a little bit about Supporting Strategies. Supporting Strategies is a nationwide business. My husband and I actually own the Northeast Florida operations. It's a franchise. And we provide virtual bookkeeping and operational support to businesses. And we do that by some of our differentiators. And the way that we do that is by leveraging highly skilled workforce that uses the best of breed technology out there that fits each individual business, and structured and documented processes, so that everything is very repeatable, and that we can get companies the financial information that they need in order to better run their businesses. So, I talk about our highly skilled workforce. One of our big differentiators is that all of our workforce has a 4-year degree and on average 10 years of experience. You often don't find that with bookkeepers, and many bookkeepers are self-taught. So that is a key differentiator for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a step back for a moment and just what is bookkeeping, in general, and then specifically how Supporting Strategies gets at bookkeeping, and who needs it and why would they need it?
Sure. Every business needs bookkeeping. And it's basically the documentation of all your transactions on a day-to-day basis, and put into reports that allow you to see how your business is functioning on a day-to-day, month-by-month, year-by-year basis. In addition, it's required. You need to have books in order to file your taxes for your CPA. So we are not CPAs. We work closely with CPAs and provide the CPAs the information and data that they need in order to be able to prepare taxes for these businesses. In particular, we do expense and accounts payable management. We do revenue recognition, customer invoicing, accounts receivable. We actually document all the things and close at the end of every month and provide an auditable report at the end of every month to show your financial status and health and well-being of your company. We do financial reporting, so you can see trend analysis. You can see year-over-year differences, month-over-month differences. We help with budgeting and provide analysis as well. And we can also help with administration of payroll and the interfacing of payroll and your books, as well as human resource administration and things like that. So helping you track your 1099s and do all the 1099 reporting, things like that.
So what I'm hearing is, say I'm I'm an individual, I'm getting ready to start a small business, and I think, you know what, I'll just start a new checking account. I'll run everything through that checking account, which already it puts you leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of business owners, small business owners out there. But let's say I'm going to go ahead and do the responsible thing, separate it off into a separate checking account. I'll just look at the bank statements. I'll just, check the bank balance every now and then, make sure I've got some money in there. I'll be good. Maybe, I want to do a little bit more than that. I'll just keep it in a spreadsheet, and set up a spreadsheet and keep up with things there. But what I'm hearing you talk about is a lot more to it than just that, right? A lot more to it than just tracking those transactions as they come along. Because I think the leap for a lot of small business owners from, it's just me. I've just got the checking account. I do a little bit of business, a little bit of income, a little bit of expenses. So I can just look at the bank statements, as opposed to I've got accounts receivable. I've got people who owe me money for the work I've done. I've got accounts payable. I need to pay bills. I've got contractors that I paid to do work, and I need to keep up with all those kinds of records. So, at what point do I, as a small business owner, say, man, I can't keep up with this by myself anymore. I need some professional help?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we would say right off the bat, you need it. You'll set up your business for growth and keep yourself out of trouble if you do it right from the start. A lot of small business owners, aren't ready to make that leap and hire somebody to help them, and they think they can do it on their own. We see that often, or a lot of times they'll have a relative do it, or if it's a husband and wife team, they'll have the husband and wife or wife do it. And when we take over books like that, we often find that they've made some pretty grave errors along the way. And a lot of times we'll help them save money by finding different ways to allocate things and different ways to recognize revenue and things like that. But we'll also keep them out of trouble. At times there's businesses that have to, like property management businesses and lawyers, that have to have certain accounts that are handled very specific ways under the law. And sometimes they're not doing that. And so we can help them identify those things and help them basically keep their business, because if they're doing some of those things wrong, they could actually lose their businesses. So, there's a lot to it. And, I was recently talking to a potential client, and it's a young man that's a great entrepreneur that's starting out, and he did just as you said, Jeremy. He opened up a bank account, and he it's a unique business, but he doesn't have his employees categorized correctly, for tax purposes, things like that. And we're going to be able to help him get all that straightened out so that he can really see what money he's making. He thinks he's making a certain amount of money, but when you layer in all his costs and reoccurring costs such as rents and insurances and things like that, a lot of people don't see how that all plays out to really understand if they're running a profitable business. We help them see that picture, so that they can then improve on it and figure out ways to cut those costs or be more efficient, or really figure out what they have to do on a day-to-day basis to drive their business forward. And by us doing this for them, they can focus on driving their business forward, not worry about going home at night and putting all this information into their little Excel spreadsheet, or even if they're doing it in QuickBooks Online or something like that. It's still something that they have to do above and beyond, selling their product or selling their service or executing their service. And, it takes away from their personal time and their family time, and they're more likely to get burnout and things like that. If they allow us to do that, they can focus on the growth and their services and hopefully maintain some balance in life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really the key, is that last part there, is that it's really easy to see this as an expense. It's really just easy to see this as, well, I can just do it myself, right? I'll just, like you said, if I go so far as to set up some bookkeeping software like QuickBooks, then, well, I can just get in there, once, maybe twice a week, and I can just do some stuff, right? But what I've seen as well, you know, as a tax professional, and like you say, what you've seen as a bookkeeping professional, is that one, you tend to make a lot of mistakes, because yeah, it's usually you're doing this at the end of the day, you're doing this at the end of the week, right? And you're already trying to run the business. Now you're sitting here trying to do this very precise, very technical work and figure it out, which, you know, unless you train to be an accountant, you are not an accountant. And so, you know, there might be some particular ways of categorizing some transactions, or ways of putting certain transactions into one category versus another that you're just not aware of. And so you put yourself in a position to where your tax return is off because of that, to where your analysis of your profitability might be off because of that. And then, you know, you can see the snowballing effect here, right? You think your profitability is different, so you go as far as, you know, your hiring practices are different, and so now you've just got a whole, you know, list of problems that just kind of come, that just domino, you know, after having bad books. Yeah, it's really a shame to see, you know, people, business owners, working really hard trying to run a business, but not really have a good grip on what's going on, because the books are, you know, honestly, just they're not that good.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And we want to help those businesses succeed. I mean, that's what's so fun about this job, is helping these businesses grow and succeed, and finding more efficient and effective ways for them to do business. Since we are a franchise, and it's a very well networked franchise, we do a lot together with our other franchisees across the country. We're constantly looking for the best technologies that can help these businesses become more efficient and more effective. For instance, recently we had a client, and they had a big workforce that would have to go out to sites. It was construction, and the guys or gals would start tracking their time. You know, that's when they started getting paid. And this company didn't have a great way to track that time. Wouldn't know if the people were logging in at home before they even got to the work site or not. So we helped them find a timekeeping tool called T-Sheets, that allowed them to GPS track where people were actually logging in to start their work day. And by just doing that, we saved them 10% in labor costs. That could be very, very significant for some businesses. So,
especially when you're in a business that's labor intensive, you know, like
exactly,
that one of the major expenses is the labor cost. No, that's
yeah.
So again, back to, you know, I think one of the problems that we're seeing in terms, you know, as accounting professionals, in terms of selling the services, is that really just the labels we give ourselves undersell the value that we bring to the client, right? So when you hear, when somebody hears bookkeeper, they think, okay, somebody is just gonna, you know, look over those transactions, make sure they get categorized into the right spot. Well, you know, I know that this is auto expense. I know that this is payroll expense. I can do that, right? But when you get into not just making sure that those things are done correctly, but making sure that the analysis of those financial statements is done correctly, and then you go even a step further and say, look, there are internal controls that if you've got multiple people working for you, it's not that necessarily that these are bad people, that they're evil people, that they, you know, are trying to steal from you, but in a way they really are. They found a way that they can get one over on you. They can get a little bit more out of you than, you know, what they're due. And they found a way to make that work. And you need some sort of system that's going to prevent that from happening, because, you know, you can't let them run the well dry just because they want to clock in a half hour early and clock out a half hour late because they know they can get away with it.
Absolutely. You know, you brought up you know, that big F word, fraud. You know, at times we've had people come to us who have actually had fraud with their bookkeeper. So that is often a concern for people. And what we do to keep that from happening, we always have 2 people working on the books. Every client of ours is assigned an associate, but also a manager. And anytime there's a need for separation of duties, we have that because we have two people involved. We also will often set up business processes with the owners to make sure that separation of duty. In some cases, they're actually the one pushing the button to pay the bills, so that we are not actually, paying the bills. We'll be setting everything up for them, but they push the button and say it's okay to do that, so that we, there is that separation of duties. We are also, fully insured as well. And sometimes that's not the case when a company hires a bookkeeper to come into their office, and it might be the office manager / bookkeeper. There's no insurance there. There's nothing protecting that business as well. And if you come with supporting strategies, we've created those business processes in that scenario, so that should never be an issue for you.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny. I've seen clients' books where they paid, a few months before I talked to them, they paid a bookkeeper to just clean up their books, right? Not to necessarily take over the books, but clean up the books. And then a couple months later, I would look at it and see journal entries that made no sense, see things moved around that made no sense, and really see underlying problems in the books that weren't even addressed, through, and see a lot of money getting paid to this bookkeeper for this cleanup job that just still didn't even make sense. So I think you're absolutely right that there is every bookkeeper is not equal, right?
Right.
And so making sure that you are not just saying, well, I hired a bookkeeper to clean up my books. That's okay, good, right?
Yeah.
But has anybody else looked at those books after the cleanup? Is anybody verified that cleanup job? And so knowing that not only are you hiring supporting strategies to get you a bookkeeper, but you're also getting the benefit of having not just one, but two set of eyes looking after
Absolutely.
those.
Absolutely. And we often work very closely with the business's CPA as well. And, have a constant back and forth, in supplying their CPA the information that the CPA needs. So we have that discussion back and forth with them as well. So,
yeah. And I know as a tax professional that, as a tax professional, when you're working with a business client that has a good bookkeeper, it makes it so much easier to serve that client, because you're either running into a situation where that business owner gives you a year's worth of bookkeeping to do to get the tax return done, right? Because they've just been watching the bank statements and not really been doing any bookkeeping, or they've had a bookkeeper that has not been doing a good job, but now your job to get the tax return done is to go back and forth with the client so that the client can go back and forth with the bookkeeper to figure out the books. And it makes that conversation of how to clean up the books in order to get the tax return right even more complicated, because you've got this third party involved that you don't know who this bookkeeper is. You don't have this bookkeeper's phone number. You can't talk directly to this bookkeeper.
Right.
And you call up the client, and the client says, well, I need to talk to my bookkeeper about it. Well, now you're just delaying this process even more.
Exactly. One of the first things that we do when we are hired onto a client is we put a call into their CPA, so that we open up that dialogue right from the beginning. So
excellent. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So how did you get into bookkeeping? Is this something you've always done, or how'd you get into this line of work?
So interesting question. My husband and I, we lived in Washington, D.C. for, I lived there about 30 years. My husband was basically raised in Washington, D.C., and we were both management consultants. We worked for the large global accounting firms. I was a partner at one of them. However, we were more on the consulting side of things. We were all about helping businesses improve their business processes, their financial management processes, understanding their financials. We did a lot with activity-based costing. We did a lot about with all kinds of things, strategy and all kinds of things to help businesses improve performance and lower costs. Really fascinating work. We love to help businesses. And we got a little tired of the rat race in Washington, D.C. We have an 11-year-old daughter at that point in time. She was, 6 or 7. And we just were not spending quality time with her. So we were looking for a pretty dramatic shift in our lifestyle. And we discovered Jacksonville, and we love Jacksonville. And we moved down here and looked for ways that we could leverage our skills to help businesses, but do it in a way that provided us the flexibility for the lifestyle that we, were looking for to have with our daughter and each other, as that matter of fact. We searched out things like that where we could help businesses and have our lifestyle, and discovered supporting strategies as a company, and just fell in love with them. They have great leadership. They're founded out of Boston. There's over 2,000 clients across the country now, 70 to 80 franchise owners. So there's a lot of robustness and stability behind that. The franchise provides a lot of support to the franchise owners, and it's just a really great scenario, and provides us the opportunity to have the flexibility and the lifestyle that we chose, and we're really striving for, and we're just loving it and having fun helping businesses, and we've focused on hiring the best folks out there to do this for our clients. And so, as I said earlier, all of the bookkeepers have 4-year degrees and 10 years of experience, and they're always available for during work hours. For people here virtual, and they're afraid that first of all, they're going to be calling overseas. They're all U.S. based, and to be honest with you, most of them are stay-at-home moms, which I personally love. These are very, very highly qualified people that are looking for flexibility, like my husband Pete and I were, and we've created this business that helps them do that. And being a mom, I just love that aspect of our business, that we are providing an outlet for. Doesn't have to be stay-at-home moms, but turns out a lot of times it is. Women that have been in the accounting profession and gotten burnout, or want to spend the quality time with their kids, like Pete and I do. And so you're getting these great professionals providing this service, and happy professionals, because they're getting to live the lifestyle that they were looking for as well. So yeah. I think it's a great model.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. It's interesting because, it seems like a lot of bookkeepers either, they got into bookkeeping somehow, or they started off running some small businesses, and, so they turned into a bookkeeper. But you're actually coming from a very high level of industrial experience and management experience to, bring that sort of experience down to the level of small and medium businesses. So, a lot of bookkeepers, like I'm saying, it seems like they're coming from a small business setting into a small business setting. You're coming from a very big business setting and using that knowledge to help small and medium business owners. That's incredible. I mean, I think that right there alone sets you, far and apart from a lot of individual bookkeepers out there.
Yeah. And since Pete and I aren't hands-on doing the work, we're constantly looking and using our management consulting experience with each client to work with our bookkeepers to say, how can we make them more efficient and more effective? How can we leverage new technologies for them? How can we even help them grow their businesses? There are connections that we can make for them that will help them down the road, or even immediately. And so it allows us to stay out of the day-to-day transactions, and take that bigger picture for all of our clients, and look for those other ways to help as well.
Gotcha. So what's one or two of the biggest challenges that you're facing in running this bookkeeping franchise business? What are your struggles in running this business?
Well, sometimes it's finding that workforce and retaining them. And so we've grown pretty significantly. We're one of we have 12 employees right now, and that makes us actually one of the largest bookkeeping companies in Northeast Florida.
Wow.
And just being able to identify that highly trained workforce and get the folks with the right traits that and the right personalities that we want to present to our clients. A little bit of problem solving, obviously highly technical skilled, great personalities. Our team is virtual, but they love to have fun. Sometimes we have little virtual happy hours and things like that to keep it fun. And we provide training for them as well. So all of our workforce is QuickBooks certified, and we actually provide that training for them. So we're looking for the right personalities, and the franchise actually helps us with that. That's what actually makes Supporting Strategies a really cool franchising. They're always helping us recruit individuals, and over the course of the history of this company, they have learned about particular traits that actually fit with the service model that we're providing and the level of quality of service that we want to provide. And so they help us do that and do actually some personality testing as we're bringing applicants on board to make sure that they fit the company culture and approach. So it's some of the things that we've done to keep our employees, because they historically they did make some of the wrong hires over time, and we've learned from that. And that's what I love about this franchise as well, is they're constantly learning and changing and trying to bring the best to our clients. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's an issue facing pretty much the entire accounting industry from top to bottom.
Absolutely.
Is just needing good individuals and it's not necessarily that you got a master's of accounting from a top program or anything like that, but it's just that you have a good solid understanding of the fundamentals of accounting, and that you are just a decent person to work with, that you're somebody that both your manager and your coworkers and your clients are going to want to sit down and have a conversation with, and that you're able to interact with those individuals. And so this is something that I have had to learn quite a bit coming into accounting over the last couple of years. Is it starts off looking like you're going to be crunching numbers in a cubicle or in a small office by yourself, and very quickly the amount of interaction with clients, with people, it becomes you've got a pretty even split between having to go out and interact with people and be able to just sit down and get that work done by yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it really takes both of those skill sets.
Yeah. Yeah. Communication is huge in the bookkeeping, and being able to talk to the business owners or their representatives to get the information and set up the business processes and things like that, so that we can really get them going and work collaboratively with them. Just as we're not on site with them, so it scares a lot of people, because we're doing a lot of this virtual. Well, we're doing it all virtually, and sometimes that scares people. But we are available through online technology to see face to face. We are always available by phone, and we'll walk them through step by step what needs to be done to automate all of their business processes through these best of breed technologies that we use. And there's a little learning curve, but it's once they get going, it makes them so much more efficient and more effective. So another quick issue is that I did bring up hiring and retaining. So people might ask, well, what happens if one of your staff members leaves? That's a great question. Well, part of our whole approach is that every task that they do for a business is documented. And we have behind the scenes program that has everything documented, so that there's continuity of service. If somebody's out sick, and let's say it's the end of the month, or you have to run payroll or something like that, either our manager can step in if the associate is sick, and if the manager's sick by some reason, the associate can step up. We also have a director of operations as well that backs them all up. And so if somebody does quit, we have all those tasks right there, all ready to be picked up. And in the meantime, the manager would pick up those tasks and keep everything running smoothly, and then train the new person coming in. So really, a business should never have to think about hiring a bookkeeper again, because we'll do all that. They've outsourced that headache to us as well. And
I was just thinking, if you're a small business owner and you've got, like you said, typical kind of cases, a friend or a somewhat distant relative, or, somebody, or the office manager, somebody like that just kind of doubles up as the bookkeeper, and that person is out, that person, has a family crisis or a medical crisis or something like this. Well, the whole operation can't shut down for that one person.
Right.
But with your kind of setup, I could be the business owner, and, whoever is my assigned bookkeeper out of your staff, that person could need a week off or 2 weeks off or quit. And I would never know the difference. To me,
Exactly.
the books would keep getting done. My business would stay running, and no worries.
Exactly, Jeremy. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So just if this were something that, that a listener was wanting to get into in terms of, becoming a bookkeeper, just in general terms, what would you recommend to them in order to get to the point to where they'd be a solid applicant for a position on your staff, say, for example?
So we're going to look for the people with the right training and the right experience. But let's just say somebody wanted to start their own. It would absolutely be get the right training. We've talked a little bit about this, is we've just seen so many people that have tried to do it themselves. And I'll say, because my husband and I weren't, bookkeepers, in our prior life, you can say, oh, that looks easy. I can run QuickBooks, no problem. I can do that. Well, we found out that, we've learned through this experience as well that is not the case, and just for those out there, our staff does our own books. Pete and I don't do our own books. Our staff does. We get the highly qualified bookkeepers do our books.
Good deal.
Because while we know a lot, we didn't do that that's not our experience. The consulting and the strategy is, the bigger picture aspect was our personal experience. So you can get in a lot of trouble by not knowing certain things. So if anybody's going to start doing this, go out and get some training. That would be one of our big things. So
I think QuickBooks Online is just deceptively simple and just deceptively a clean user interface, just enough to make it to where anybody can log in, set up an account, and think they can do it. And it definitely can turn into some serious problems very quickly if you don't actually know what you're doing.
Yeah, and you've probably seen that on the tax side, the results of that. So
for sure.
So yeah, absolutely.
I've gotten it, I haven't been doing this very long, but I've gotten to where if I just look in 2 or 3 key places, I can within, 15, 20 seconds know if this is going to be good and easy, or if this is going to be a lot of work to make this happen.
Absolutely.
It doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to see where it doesn't take long to see that the wheels have come off the wagon. Now, getting back to the point to where the wheels actually came off, that's what gets really, really hairy. That's what gets very, very difficult. And
absolutely. A lot of times we're hired into businesses that have, thought they were getting their books done by someone correctly, and we have to go back in and recreate the entire last year of books, and sometimes we find them savings, and sometimes they have to refile their taxes and actually owe money, which
Yeah.
is the unfortunate thing, but that's going to catch up to them sooner or later.
If
And
it's, yeah, I tell people that, if it's not me telling you this, it's going to be the IRS, or it's going to be your state agency that eventually, it may not be tomorrow, but next year, the year after that, eventually they're going to figure it out too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes it's actually getting them money. So,
yeah, right.
But it's certainly keeping them out of trouble either way.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so we do all that cleanup and that restatement, and then work with the CPAs to refile taxes if we need to, and so on, and so make amended, filings and things like that. So.
Awesome. Well, this has been really informative for me. I think it's going to be really informative for the listeners and the viewers, because anybody running a small business, like Diane said, you need to get books, and you need to get good books. You need to get professionally done books. I'm as a tax professional, I'm going to tell you that. She, as a bookkeeping professional, is going to tell you that. Just about any CPA, EA, accountant out there is going to tell you that. So if you're trying to run a small business on a shoestring budget, this is the one place that you don't want to skimp. In terms of good record keeping, good financial record keeping. Diane, if listeners want to get a hold of you, if they want to follow up with you on this episode, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Sure. The best way to reach out is I can be reached at Diane or D Denholm at supportingstrategies.com. For a phone number, we can be reached at 904-849-8099. And they can also check out our website at supportingstrategies.com. And we are the Northeast Florida office. I did want to talk about one other quick thing.
Sure.
Another way that they can get a hold of us is every year we like to give back to our clients and our partners. And we do a business fundamentals book boot camp is what we call it. And this year it's on November 14th up at the University of North Florida Herbert Center from 1 to 7 p.m. And it's actually a place for business owners to come and learn about things to help their business. It's not supporting strategy, talking about supporting strategy. It is, there's marketing folks, strategy folks, lawyers, you name it. We have a panel. We have 3 different tracks with 9 different speakers, and then a panel of folks all focused on helping businesses improve their growth, or their business processes, or financial structures, or marketing, whatever we can do. So we put together these speakers. It is normally $60 to attend that. For folks listening to this podcast, we offer a 50% discount by using the code NFL50. And you can get to that by going to supportingstrategies.com, and there's a boot camp tab, and they could look for the Northeast Florida boot camp, and then register through that, and then use this code NFL50 to get 50% off. And we'd love to see folks there, and it's a great way for them to learn about new things and new, ways to improve their businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, education and that kind of, additional training is for sure a great thing that business owners need to take advantage of. So we'll be sure to have links to all of that, to Diane's contact information, as well as information about that boot camp on the description and in the show notes. You can find those show notes in the description along with this episode. So please be sure to like and comment and subscribe on all of your channels, wherever you're watching or listening to this. Thank you so much, Diane, for coming on this episode. Really appreciate you being here. I think this was a lot of great information that's really going to help the small business owners listening out there, as well as a lot of the accountants who might have clients that could use your services and are looking for some quality bookkeeping work to get done that they can outsource. So I am your host, Jeremy Wells. It's been the J Wells CFO Show. You can find me at J Wells CFO across all the social media, including LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Again, Diane, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jeremy. I had fun.
Absolutely. Good deal. Thank you to the listeners. Have a great day.